All right, so now we are live on Facebook. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Finally, thank you for your
We
patience.
made
To you,
it.
Servola, to all of those people who may be chiming in. And first of all, let me just go ahead and start by saying welcome. And I'm so glad that Miss Servola Frazier is here with us tonight. She is going to knock your socks off with some of the information that is going to be very tangible, practical, takeaways. It's a Sunday night, and I don't know about you, but I start my Sundays and I kind of map out my week. And so I know that what you're going to offer tonight is really going to help somebody to kind of craft their week and design it with a roadmap for success. So thank you so much for being here tonight, Servola. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to share with everyone tonight. Let's
I
do
know,
it.
I know. And it's a great way to I always feel like, especially being a Christian, like Sundays are kind of like that fun day. I don't know, for me, they've always been kind of like a chill day. And so for me to end the day with, visiting with you is going to be awesome. So let me just start off by telling people how you and I met. And oddly enough, we didn't meet until the beginning of 2020.
Yep.
Although our paths have crossed, I know we've been in the same spaces and places, but we have not necessarily, met each other until January of this year. And
Yeah.
Servola and I actually have a mutual connection, which is her brother and her sister-in-law. And they were sharing with me, oh my gosh, you have to meet my sister. You have to meet my sister-in-law. She's doing all this great stuff for our women's empowerment. And I was like, I do need to meet her. And then we did exchange many, we had phone calls and we exchanged conversations because I was able to be a part of, I was, honored to be a part of your event that you hosted
Yes.
this
Yes.
year in January. So tell us just briefly about that, and how you designed that and what you offered to women in that January event.
So the January event is called Launch, and basically it's a women empowerment event to kick off your year. The whole intent of that event is to get us focused and ready for the year that we're about to experience. And a lot of different things were happening in the actual previous years that we were doing Launch. We had a lot of conversations about mental health. We had a lot of conversations about health and wellness. And this year we added a major component of the health and wellness piece. So I was so happy to have you come and share about that, because I think that a lot of women struggle with different things, and just being able to have someone that has experienced some of the things that they're going through and help them to navigate to get to that other side was really what Women Camp is all about, and helping women to say, okay, this is what I want to do for the year. This is what I feel empowered to do. And one of the special parts that I love is the vision board part, because it allows you to have that view of what your year is going to look like and actually put it out and spread it out. And then you can put it before yourself and see it all the time, and actually see this vision of what you started the year thinking and how these things start to come together. And I've heard so many different reports from women that have been like, oh my God, everything on my vision board I've done, I've seen it happen. Or I remember last year, as we were going into the launch for the year, one of the ladies had contacted me. She said, everything but one thing hasn't happened yet, but I'm in the process. I got this house under contract, and I wanted to get this house, and it didn't happen exactly when I thought it was going to happen. And then like a week later, she calls me. She says, everything is on the list, is done. I got the house. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
You're like, check, check, check. I don't know
Yeah,
if 2020 is going to be the same for
yeah,
anyone, because I think everybody's like pulling their hair out with
yeah.
2020, but hey,
And it's crazy, because I truly believe that even though we've been in the middle of a pandemic, we can't allow the situation of the crisis to shift our perspective as to what we thought would come to pass. And I think maybe it's not going to come to pass the way we thought, but that doesn't mean it's going to be limited. So it's just about reframing our thinking about what's about to happen next.
and I was just going to say that I love what you said. You're going to, and I'm taking notes just so you know, but shifting our perspective, in the reframe of, hey, so maybe it wasn't this house that I wanted, but maybe there was this door opening for this house, or maybe that God was closing that door from 2020 because the house you really wanted and He has waiting for you. It's a reframe for 2021's vision. You still have the vision for it, but I like that. That's so good. And I know too, Servola, like we had said that, you've been doing these retreats, but you haven't always been a coach. So why don't you just give us a brief background into where you were and then what led you to coaching? Because a lot of people, in the Shine with Franny, community perhaps don't know you. And so I want to make sure they know where you're coming from and how you have been so successful as a coach to this point.
Yeah, so I started out before coaching, and I actually think that many of us, and those of us in the coaching space, kind of already know that we've been coaching for years before it was ever even known as coaching. So we were already doing it before they coined the phrase and created the industry. We were already doing that. And it was a natural fit or a natural step into for me. But for years, about 10 years before I jumped into doing my business full time, I worked for the government. I tell people that all the time. And I'm like, I honestly want to say something like really clever. Like, I can't tell you what I did, but literally, I can tell you parts of what I did anyway. I used to do contracts for the government for about 10 years, and I negotiated different types of contracts. I remember I was telling someone the other day that I went from ordering fans for the government to negotiating multi-million dollar deals for the government. It's like, that was a great transition.
Which is so amazing though too, like to be able to one say that you work for the government, and then to have that circuitous, like it probably was not like a linear, like okay, A plus B, like it got you just right up the corporate ladder. It was probably a very roundabout way, right, in which you kind of went from the fans all the way up to the negotiating contracts, right?
Yes, and it was really, I think for me, I was very ambitious, very hungry, had a strong drive, wanted to grow, and because I have a growth mindset, I was always looking for opportunities to experience new challenges, complexities. And I think that's what opened the door for me to be able to step into a lot of opportunities more sooner than my colleagues, because I was just hungry for that, and I think that says a lot about even what I do now. So
Well, and I think that's so true. And I think that there's a part of that. And I'm curious, is it nature or nurture? Like, do you think that you were kind of born with that drive? I don't know where you are in the birth order. I know you're older than Anthony, but I don't know where you are with your other siblings. Like, do you think that part of that is your natural inclination, or do you think a lot of that was just from the environment that you grew up in too?
So I would say a combination. I think I was born this way from that perspective. I'm the middle child, so the probably more independent than my siblings, and just really the more ones that was kind of hands off. So I had to fend for myself a little bit more than the others. But I don't even consider it that way. I think I was more independent naturally. And because of that desire to learn and grow was just a part of it. I remember when I was younger, just pulling things apart, putting them back together, just being curious about different things. And my parents didn't really raise us to be fearful or to have a lot of boundaries. They were just like, hey, this is, God does have a plan for your life. So keep that in focus. I am a preacher's kid. So, so let's keep that in perspective. So God does have a plan for your life. So don't drift too far away from that, honey. But I think the other part of that was this desire that God put in me to want more and desire more. And it wasn't from this perspective of greed or gluttony. It was from this perspective of all the things that tie to my purpose. I wanted more of that. Yeah. I wanted all the things that God had for me that's out there that will contribute to this plan that he has for my life in order for that to be fulfilled. So
well, and I think that's huge. And you touched on something. So whether you're working with someone who's in the secular world or in the faith-based world too, I know that, the desire for more, right? Like, but I love that your why, if you will, your Simon Sinek, what's your why? It's bigger. And I don't want to digress too far, but I know you personally. And so I do know that your why also is beyond your own generation. Oh, yeah. And I think that can you kind of explain a little bit? Because I think that is a huge motivational factor, not only for you, but for a lot of other people, right? And so how do you cultivate that? Obviously you mentioned that you feel like there's this divine design in God's plan in your life, but how do you continue to cultivate that in your own kind of daily walk, if you will?
I think that for me, that's where a lot of the pieces of what I created in my planner comes into place, because I like to, even in the planner, I have this place in there where you look at your purpose, your vision, your goals, your actions that you want to do. And I like the reason why I put that in the planner is because many times when we don't have, like, if it's not within our view, then we lose focus. If we don't see it, my father says, whatever you focus on the longest become the strongest. And so I believe that. And so having that vision right before you, and I believe your vision is your purpose fulfillment, how you see your purpose being fulfilled, having that before you keeps you on track and keeps you driving for that. And for me, it's looking at all the things that God has placed in my life. I'm a very creative person, and not losing sight of that, but also keeping that in perspective. And my sister, we were on the phone the other day, and I was like, girl, if you were here, man, I have you putting this together for me. And she's like, yeah, I know. Like, you have all of us employed, all of us working, all of us doing all these things. And that's the truth, because I believe that all of our purposes are tied to other people. And that legacy piece is important for me, because I truly believe that, that there are some things that God has placed inside of each and every one of us, and namely me, that is to change the, to be that conduit or that catalyst that changes the scope of my generation, that changes the scope of the ones who come behind me. I'm not just looking for to make my life all wonderful and beautiful. I'm looking to make this path so clear that the next generation and generation after that, my great grandkids, because I already have grandkids, y'all. So my great grandkids, my
That's
great
so
great
good, girl. I still can't get over that. When you showed me your grandbaby last week, I was like,
yes, girl.
yeah.
So that they have a clear path to fulfill everything that God has for them to fulfill and to make a major impact on this world. Because I truly believe that we have, we have that purpose, we have that divine design that's been given to each and every one of us, not for us to keep to ourselves, but for us to share with others. And I believe that that's an important piece of that.
Well, and I love that. And you bring up your planner, and I didn't even get there yet, but I'm so glad you brought it up because I know that this is just launching, like actually like rise
Yes,
time, right? Just in this
yes,
past week, you've launched this, and it's a tremendous undertaking. First of all, to be an author, and
yes.
then to have something that's so meaningful that is a tool that's a very practical tool that really can run the gamut from anyone who's just kind of starting in their business ventures, and then to somebody who's a seasoned CEO, 20 years into their career, if you will. So can you tell us a little about it? Maybe you can give it a little plug. Of course, unabashedly, I want you to share it. Yes, let us see, like what design. If there's even a way, if you can walk us through maybe a couple of the, prompts or the keywords or things like that in there, that'd be awesome.
So I'll share with you three things that I think are really important about the planner because I think that they tie into things that I think entrepreneurs deal with. And that is, one is mindset and keeping a positive and not just this positive mindset for, oh, I just want everything to be perfect and good, because everything's not going to be perfect and good on your journey, but having something that, refocus you, that you can anchor to, that says, okay, let me reframe myself. Today may be a little bit of a struggle. I may be going through some things, but as you flip through your planner, you notice like this one says right here, move forward, success is on the way. So it's a reminder to you as you're going through your planner, hey, I may be facing this right now, but I'm going to keep moving forward because success is right around the corner for me. There's another quote in here that says, I'm getting closer to my dreams every day. Good things are coming my way. And there's different things like that that keeps that reminder, that puts you back into that right frame of reference, that lets you know, okay, today doesn't dictate what tomorrow is going to be. So I have to keep moving forward today intentionally. Don't let procrastination or don't let this complacency overtake me and get me into this place to where I get stagnant or stuck, but I can keep moving forward. And then there's another thing where I believe tracking is important in entrepreneurs' life, where we have to track the things, and I was reading a book, I think it's by Pete Drucker, and he talked about the importance of tracking, because whatever you track, you know what's going on. And if you're not tracking your success, if you're not tracking the things that you're doing, then you really don't know how well you're doing. You really don't know how well things are going. You really don't know, where you need to make some correction or what you're doing really well. So I call it, there's methods in here for you to track your success. So whether it's your goals, whether it's your revenue, your cash flow, just making sure whatever your success targets is, having those in here and saying, okay, this is a place where I'm going to track. And there is a place in here and every month where we have like in here what I call is the business building tracker. And I'll give you a little glimpse of it. And so the business building tracker allows you to go in there and say, okay, this is the product or service that I'm offering. This is what my target is for the week, so that you're intentional. This is what I want to do every week. And then you say, did you hit the target? Yes or no? If you didn't hit the target, why didn't you hit the target? If you hit the target, then what happened? What were all the things you put in place to hit the target? And the reason for that is because that is your recipe for success. And many of us, we don't track it. So we're like, I don't know how I did that. I don't know how this happened. Oh my God, I'm not sure. Well, track it, track
Right.
it.
Right.
And then there's the reflection piece, which I think is really important. The time where you need to recognize, what do you need to do more of? What do you need to do less of? What do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing? What are your key takeaways? That really taking that time at the end of every week to reflect upon that. Some people do it at the end of every day. Some people do it at the end of every week. And depending on where you're at in your cycle of life is where you need to do it as a business owner. And I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to take that time. Our lives are busy. we have a lot going on. And when you take the time to reflect, it helps you to know, okay, this is what I could have done a better job at. And I want to hone in and focus in on that and kind of create some goals around that so that I can make sure that I'm intentional about achieving those things.
Well, I think you bring up three super important things, not just for entrepreneurs, but for anybody. Your mindset is
Yeah.
all where it starts, right? I think that's huge. And then the tracking piece, and I love how you bring that up too, because that's not only important with your business, of course, you need to know numbers and figures and things. But, you know, when I think about my gym workouts or my eating
Yes,
habits,
girl.
like that's what but that's what every trainer says, track your food, like tell me what you're doing, you know? And I think that's really, really huge. And then the last part is the reflection. Oftentimes we just kind of go through the motions and we just keep on going and we don't stop and say, wait, what worked, what didn't, what do I want, what do I, what do I want this to look like? So I think having that is great too. I know that you also mentioned that when you and I spoke, that this is not something that is dated, right? So you could like pick up September 29th if you want to pick up, like you can do it whenever, right?
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I created it that way, is because as an entrepreneur, I struggle with finding the perfect planner. And one of the reasons why I struggle is because most of the planners are dated. And so that's like a real hard thing to find something that you can kind of customize for yourself. And so you can pick up at any time of the year and just start and just move forward from there and have it all in one place. And that's one of the things that I really love about this planner is when you get the weekly version, it is completely undated and you can actually start from wherever you are at the span of time you are in your life or in the year. So you don't have to worry about having to wait to January to get started. You can start right now, today, pick up the planner and just go to that page, put in your dates and get rolling.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. I love that about you too, because you're like, there are no excuses. Like you have no excuses to wait until January 1st to start. And let's just be honest, if you are a believer, you believe that Jesus is Jewish and you know that Rosh Hashanah just started. So it is
Come
your new
on, it already
Oh,
started.
it's already started. So we're in the middle of it. So just go ahead. You have 2 New Years to start with.
Happy New Year.
Exactly. Like that could be your gift to yourself. I'm going to start. All right. So
Yeah.
let's kind of like circle back for a quick second because this was something I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, you're a very successful coach. You work with people, not just women, but you had gotten your John Maxwell certification.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and then how you weave that into your coaching practices or just, really into your just business overall. Because I know he does a lot of leadership. He's multifaceted. He's not just for coaching.
Yes. And so, okay, so what happened was how I even got into the John Maxwell program. I had been reading some John Maxwell books, and a friend of mine was like, hey, we should do this. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And she was like, no, really think we should do this. And I see that as how God prompts you through other people to do things that you were chosen to do, but you just didn't know. You didn't know about it. And he puts the right people in your path to get you to where you want to go. And so she was like, let's do this. She challenged me. I jumped into the challenge and got into the training and started looking at how they have the to grow training for coaching. And I really loved it because it helps you to understand, number one, the importance of coaching and how it fits into the role of every single person. And I think for me, the role of coaching, as you get I'm a mother of 3. And as our kids got older, I learned the role of coaching, whether I believe it or not, through that transition as they became adults. Like I'm no longer telling you, this is what you better do. I'm like asking questions. Well, what do you think about that? Or what do you think is the best approach for that? And they're like, oh my God, like she's going to ask me a whole bunch of questions. But I think how the whole John Maxwell piece ties into what I do is that the whole experience of John Maxwell, the leadership components. I have a lot of clients that are leaders and they're entrepreneurs, but they're also leaders. They have teams that work for them and they've never been in that type of a role before. And so helping them to be able to navigate that. And I bring those tools, those principles to the table and helping them to be able to say, okay, well, how do I inject this? And giving them practical examples to help them step through that. And I think that is so important for people to understand that just because you haven't been in that role before, meaning entrepreneurs being now leaders and having to lead their teams, doesn't mean that you're not equipped for it. It just means that there may be some skills that are transferable that you just haven't tapped into yet. And we like to discount our skills. We like to discount our roles and discount what we've done. But the reality of it is there's a lot of things under surface. And one of the things that I love about the John Maxwell program is they help you to kind of dust off off those skills and come to the realization that this skill right here that you've been using for 20 years, yeah, that's a coaching skill. Like that is a coaching skill. That's something that you thought it wasn't. Yeah, it was coaching. So
Right.
let's roll that into it. And so it automatically brings in that credibility, that validation, so that you don't have this imposter syndrome going on with you as you're trying to step through this, and really helping you to overcome those limiting beliefs. Because I think one of the major challenges that people struggle with, no matter where they are in life, is limiting beliefs. And what you believe about where you are, where you believe about where you're supposed to go, can actually make or break that actual track for you to get there.
100%. And you know, it's so funny you say it. I was just on a podcast last week and we talked about when I work with women or just with people, one of the things I talk about is the word belief. And in the middle of it, right smack dab in the middle is the word lie, L-I-E.
Come on.
And
Yeah.
I say it's the limitations, the intimidations, and the excuses that you make that keep you limited in that belief, right? And so I think that you bring that up. That's so important, because I know that in your coaching, as well as, you know, the programs you do, and then in this tracker, this planner that you're using, I know that you kind of dissect some of those in the mindset questions that you ask, right? Is there a question? And I always think about this too, because Jesus was the first coach with this. Like every time they would ask him a question, he would answer a question. He was like, they were like, hey, what should happen to this lady? And he was like, which one of you is without sin? Like he would always give a question back, right? So he was the ultimate coach of all things. And so what might be a question that if somebody is kind of stuck in a limiting belief, or maybe, you know, they're kind of in that space where, like you said, they don't even recognize their own strengths, you know, or their own giftedness, if you will. What is something that might help them kind of unravel that or untangle that a little bit?
And I think one of the, I would say, question and activity. Because I think one of the things that we do is we can write a whole list of things that we feel that we're not qualified to do, or we feel that we're not so great at. And then really just taking that moment to write down everything that you're great at, and really looking at what those things are, and maybe slipping in there some things that other people thought they told you that you were great at, that maybe you didn't think, maybe I'm not so great at this, but you're your worst critic. So eliminate you from the equation and start looking through, and then ask yourself, is there a possibility that all of these things could be true? Mm-hmm. All these great things about you, is there a possibility that these things can be true? And when you look at the life that you desire, the life that you want to live, do these qualities, do you think all of these things will help you to get to that place?
Yeah, that's good.
And then it helps you to understand that everything that you're looking for, that you're saying is outside of you, or that you feel that you just don't have the ability to achieve, you actually have it in you.
Yeah.
It's actually there.
That's so powerful too, because I think that so often like we've said before, like you kind of get stuck in that tunnel vision that you don't have anything, you're not equipped, you don't have the right resources, all those things. And really they're there. We just have to tap into them. And like you said earlier, we have to reframe, you know, shift our focus and reframe. And I think that's really good. I write about that in my book. I talk about hone and zone, like hone in on the qualities that you have, that you're focused in on, like that have gotten you to where you are, and that will help you zone in on the ones that are going to help you get where you want to be. Right. So that's hugely important. So what would you say is like the number one challenge, issue, concern when people come to you, they're like, pulling their hair out, like, what are they coming to you for typically? And then the second part of that is, how do you help them solve that, Servola?
You know, I think that a lot of people come to me, and they come to me with this thought process that they're comparing themselves to someone else. They're comparing their business to someone else's business, or to their competitor. And so that all is in the mindset, right? Many entrepreneurs are really struggling with mindset, those limiting beliefs. But there are some that have the structural issues, or there's some that have the cash flow issues. How do I come up with more solutions on how to raise more money and bring more cash flow into my business? And so there are a lot of different things that we can do with that. What I started finding is a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with their time and where they're committing themselves to. They actually devote more time to things that they probably should be delegating to other people and to teammates, or to people that will be able to have those bartering arrangements where, you can coach someone for a number of hours and then exchange for, them running your website or doing some other things like that. But they're spending time running their back office instead of spending time actually doing their business, and helping them to be able to figure out how they can do more of the thing that they know that they're called to do, which is their business, and less of the things that are really important, but they're less of who they are. and helping them to get to a place to where they can start actually hiring people to start doing those things for them so that they can actually do more of the stuff that they love to do every day. Because listen, if you're not doing what you want to do as an entrepreneur, that business, that thing that wakes you up as a part of that passion for you, then eventually you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get irritated. You're going to be like, my God, what am I doing? Like, this is dragging me. This is sucking the life out of me. And I thought this business was going to give all these things to me, but really it's our commitments. We're committing ourselves not to doing the business, or from that perspective, we're committing ourselves to running that back office. And we've got to shift that around. And I realized this even myself, like a few years ago, I met with one of my mentors and I was like frustrated. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on. And I'm so irritated and this and that. And I've done this. I've got my accounting stuff together and that took me like 3 months and I did this and, I'm just going through everything. And I'm like, everything is in order business wise. And he's like, but you're not running your business. Like, you're not doing your business. Like, you're spending 80% of your time in your back office.
Right.
And only 20,
right?
Right. And only 20% of your time doing the thing that you love to do.
That lights you up. Yeah.
And the 20% of your time needs to flip because that's the money making part of your business. Like, that other stuff doesn't make you money.
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge, especially as a solopreneur. I think that, I know you have some support and stuff, but I'm a one-man show kind of thing. I'm like, I'm the one who's doing the emails. I'm the one who's saying, and I think that not until this year did I say, I've got to just stop and hire a VA. And when I could take that and give that to her and be like, okay, I need you to make this image card and you can do this. I was like, oh,
yes.
Okay. That's how easy it was. I mean, I'm a control freak. So it kind of like freaked me out a little bit. And I was like, I don't know. And then I would go back and be like, can you change this, this, and this? I'm like, I'm really sorry. And she was like, no, that's what I'm here for. And I was like,
exactly.
Oh, that wasn't that bad. Like I didn't feel like I was Cruella DeVille, and I was like, oh, this is what her job is. And this is what my job is. So I think that
gives you room to be, I'm sorry. I find that it gives you room to be more creative. Yeah. It allows your personal genius to come to the forefront like never before. Yeah. And you're actually able to be even more creative in your role. And more ideas and more passion begins to swell up in you. And actually you become more energized because you're actually doing more of what is your wheelhouse. This is your wheelhouse. You're doing it. And, when you're doing the other pieces, they do drain you because there's somebody else's wheelhouse. There's somebody else's specialty. And, I think in the pandemic, we found ourselves thinking of more creative ways to work with people and to collaborate. And that's one of the things that I love about partnering and collaborating with other people is because you get this opportunity to kind of learn different things about other aspects, but then you can say, okay, well, I can turn this over to someone else and let them do this for me. And then I can do all these different things as well. And it gives you room to be more of who you are and show up as the person you need to be instead of feeling like you're a chicken with your head cut off, just running around trying to get stuff done.
No, and that's so good. And I think too, in the beginning, I don't know if this was you in the beginning, but I was also doing things that I knew I could do, but they didn't light me up. And they were also things that I could have outsourced, but I was afraid of losing money. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I can do that. I can do that. And then I would spend hours and hours doing things that I was like, I have a friend who's a copywriter. Like I can write copy, but for myself. But like when people were asking me to do it, I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what if it's not perfect and blah, blah. And so then I was like, I started like just referring to my friend. And then she said, hey, why don't I just pay you a commission? I was like, which is what we know is to be affiliate partnerships. And I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, why did I think of this, 3 contracts ago? And here I am like pulling my hair out. So there are ways to work, like you said, collaborating and working smarter, not harder. So that's awesome. Well, Servola, if people wanted to connect with you, and I'm just gonna look very quickly inside of the quote comments to see if anybody has any questions. It doesn't look like there are any, but do you have any final thoughts for people? Where can they get your book? If they wanted to work with you, how can they connect with you? Tell me all that. And of course we can put notes and everything in the comments afterwards.
Yes, definitely. Well, you can follow, or connect with me at Coach Servola. That's on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So just at Coach Servola, or you can go to the website at motivateplanners.com to get your copy of the planner today.
Awesome. And mine I ordered last week, so I can't wait to get mine. And I just put at Coach Servola, but I'll put the actual links inside of there too, so people can log in and connect with you. And I know great things are in store for you, not only with this planner, but with all the other things. I know you've got some exciting things kind of tucked up your sleeve and on your own vision board.
Yes.
So I'm kind of excited to be been privy to that and to see what else is coming. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It doesn't look like there's any questions. We had some fans tuning in. Holler at your Anthony and Mr. George logged on too. And Aisha Martin. So thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. I shared it and then I went back over to look at the comments. So I'll go ahead and reshare it onto my page now so we can get more people to go ahead and know, and follow you on all those platforms. Thanks, Servola. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.